What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. We're going to be talking about the first impressions of the showcase from, I think, Wonder Festival for INART, and we're going to be starting off with this Absolute Batman. I talked about in my last video with the LPZZ or UPF that they were making an Absolute Batman, and here we see another Absolute Batman showcased prototype by INART. And I think this guy looks pretty cool. He has the spikes here, as you can see. And honestly, I think the only issue I have with this is that he looks a little too armored. Not big, but I mean like armored in the chest area where the logo is. And then also the neck kind of looking a little weird, like a giraffe. His head looks a little too small. I haven't really looked at the comic too closely, so I don't know which one's more accurate, whether it's this one, whether it's the UPF. You guys can decide that for yourselves. But, this is honestly really, really cool that we're seeing Absolute Batman get a lot of love in the comic and figure-wise, so that's amazing. Next up, we have a Dark Knight Returns or whatever Batman's. I'm not too familiar with the comics with this Batman and also the Superman on the next slide, but INART is planning on making these, and as you can see, the Superman has soft goods, so yeah, looking pretty cool there, and I believe these are both prototypes as well. And then we have the Heath Ledger Joker. Hold on, they might be cooking here. We saw Mezco do their Heath Ledger Joker, and now we're seeing INART come in and do their own Heath Ledger Joker. He has soft goods on. I'm a little iffy about how the articulation is going to look on this guy, but the head sculpts are absolutely going to be nailed. I know they're going to nail this head sculpt. I know it's going to look way better than the Mezco one because they already made 1/6 head sculpts for Heath Ledger. So it's going to be a little bit easier to make, a smaller scaled version, and it's going to look fantastic. So I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to absolutely cook on this guy. My only concern is articulation, of course, with the jacket and then the suit under, but we have a Bane, Tom Hardy Bane from the same trilogy of The Dark Knight with Christian Bale. And yeah, nothing to be really said here. Mafex made one a couple years ago. INART's coming in, they're making their own version, and I'm sure they're going to cook. They're going to do absolutely amazing. He looks great. If you're really a fan of that Bane, definitely something to look forward to. Then we have a Gal Gadot Wonder Woman figure. I'm honestly not excited for this. I think all figure companies need to just move on from Zack Snyder, start cooking up some new figures for the new universe. You already got an appearance of Supergirl, you already got an appearance of Superman, you've got this Creature Commando show that came out, you have like the robot guy, you got all of these cool characters that you can make figures for, and we're still stuck on Zack Snyder in 2025. Zack Snyder figures coming out in 2026, guys. We gotta move on already. We really gotta move on. It's over. That time is done. The universe is wrapped. The universe is gone. It's done. It's done. It's done. Focus on Peacemaker. Focus on characters that actually matter right now. But, they have contracts, licenses, things that they do. Whatever, it probably took them 2-3 years to come up with this figure. Whatever the case may be, they do what they gotta do. But that's just my take on the figures. I think we need to just move past the Zack Snyder stuff already. It's not that I don't like it. It's not that I'm being a hater. I think it's just done. The time is on. We gotta move on. We gotta move on. Then here we have the Arkham Origins Deathstroke and the Arkham Origins Batman. Here we have them side by side, no longer prototypes. These appear to be the official last images of the figure. Changes could still be made, but this looks a little bit more like it's gonna look like it's on release. I really love the colors on both figures. It has really nice sculpting, nice sculpt work, nice designs, nice details. The only thing I'm a little not too excited about here is the articulation. When you compare it to the LPZZ that has a more exaggerated build that they specifically do so that you have more range in the articulation. Articulation here kind of looks a little buns, not gonna lie. But, I'm not a fan of the INART articulation based off of the Christian Bale. I think it's a little overrated in terms of articulation. Design, sculpt work, detail, perfect 10 out of 10. But articulation, I'm gonna scale it down to 7 to 8 out of 10. Not gonna lie. But, they look fire. They look great. And then on the next slide, we have the Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, Superman and Batman. And I think these look great. I know I was hating on the Zack Snyder thing, but this looks great, right? This looks cool. Definitely keep your eye on the UPF, LPZZ, whatever, and the INART, right? They're making figures for both of them. I don't know if UPF is going to be making a Henry Cavill, but I'm sure they'll do one if they're doing Batman. So then we have the Robert Pattinson Batman. And Robert Pattinson Batman looks phenomenal here. Something that I have to say between this one and the UPF is that this one definitely has better textures on the suit that make it look a lot more realistic than the UPF. The UPF, you can still see it's like that plastic that looks a little cheaper. And not as cheap as Mafex, but still just not the quality of INART where the padding and the sculpt work is down packed, right? Where it almost looks like real clothing. you know, even though it's not soft goods. So I think the sculpt work on the INART is absolutely phenomenal. I gotta see what it looks like with the head sculpt on, because the last time I saw it with the head sculpt on, I wasn't too crazy about how the neck looked, but this looks really good right here. This looks solid, and I'm super excited to either pick up this one or the UPF. And then here we have the Arkham Joker, and I'm actually not a fan of this. If this is supposed to be representing the Arkham Joker, I think this is actually kind of buns. But if this is, actually, you know what? I think this is the Arkham Origins Joker. If I'm not mistaken, it may not be Arkham Origins, it may just be the Arkham series Joker in general, but this actually looks a lot more like Origins design than it does than Arkham Knight and Arkham City and Asylum. So that's probably why I wasn't a little too crazy about this, because since it's still a prototype and so the UPF is also a prototype, I think the UPS prototype is actually a prototype of the Arkham Knight look, where this is a prototype of the Arkham Origins look. So I think that's where the discrepancy was between why this one looks so off to me. I think it actually looks good for a Joker figure, especially from Arkham Origins, but I'm not a fan of Arkham Origins Joker. I'm the biggest fan of, you know, Arkham Knight, Arkham City. You know, that Mark Hamill Joker is phenomenal and definitely my favorite. This is a great Joker, don't get me wrong, and if you like this Joker, you can definitely pick him up. But from what I'm seeing, I think INART is starting from Origins and slowly working their way to Knight, whereas UPF is just jumping around. They're making Arkham Asylum Batman or Arkham City. I'm still trying to differentiate the suit. They're like going to Arkham Knight, then they're going to like Catwoman, and then they're doing the Batman Beyond suit, and then they're doing all these different suits, whereas like they don't have a particular order or structure. So, you know, that's probably the case. Then we have like the Superman figure that's like, I don't really know what this is. Like, this is like a droid or a robot. You know, I'm not into the comics too much where I know all the characters, but you know, this looks cool. If you're interested in this, that's fire. I don't know what this is, whatever the hell this is. Please let me know in the comments to educate me. And lastly, we have the Batman XE suit, I think people call it, from Arkham Origins, where it's like the armored suit. And here we actually get a look at the soft goods and also some of the effects where we see like ice or like whatever that is. So that looks cool. That looks cool. If you like this suit and you want it, I think the only other figure for this suit is actually the Hot Toys. And I think this looks great. If you like the suit, if you like the iteration, if you like this game, definitely go pick this up. But that's all I got for you guys today. This is the INART showcase from Wonder Festival, I believe, or whatever festival is going on right now. So this is the INART showcase. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I want to hear your thoughts on all of these figures. Are you excited for any of these? Are you going to be picking up any of these? Do you think INART is taking too long to release more figures, or would you be more patient and wait for them to cook up and, you know, do their thing rather than rush them? Because UPF seems to be rushing out their releases. So what do you guys think? Are you a UPF fan, or LPZZ as their previous name? Are you an INART fan, or do you just like not care at all and you stick to your Mayfex, you stick to your SHF and your Reveltech? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.